What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of BSP's Blocked List, presented by Couch Guy Sports. I'm your host, Brianna, also known as BSP, and my job is to take you through all the stories I'm blocking and the ones that I'm following from the world of Boston sports and beyond. Now, this is such a busy show this week. I have so much to talk about. There's so much going on. We've got playoffs. We've got Sunday Night Football. The Red Sox are doing whatever. It's just a lot, so let's get started. Now, the Boston Celtics, at the moment of recording, are down 2-0, or well, I guess 0-2, in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat, when they really should be up. You have two games where they've blown double-digit leads both times. 14-point lead in Game 1, 17-point lead in Game 2. And I know basketball is such a, enigma of a sport where you can be up by that much and like that it can swing. I understand that. I played basketball my entire life. I know how it works. But it's, to me at least, it feels like when these guys get up by 10 points, 15 points, it's like they get complacent and they tell themselves, okay, we have this giant lead. That's it. And I obviously know that's not the case, because you know how talented and how hungry this team is. I mean, you look at the players on the team, at least up until now, I think we all thought that. It's not just Marcus Smart that has this dog mentality. I feel like at any given moment, any of those guys can show that. They may not be as open about it 24/7, but I feel like they all are similar in that way. And it just seems like in this series, I don't know. I don't want to say they get complacent or they get lazy or they get comfortable. But after watching Game 2, I feel like that's exactly what happened. One specific instance, I don't remember which Heat player it was, but it was in the final minutes of the fourth quarter when they were still, it was a pretty close game. I think they were actually up a basket at this point, the Celtics. And a Heat player went up for an offensive rebound, and there were 4 Celtics players around him, underneath the basket, on their feet, while it might have been Tyler Hero. I don't remember. It might have been Dragic. I don't know. I don't know. But he was up in the air, getting the offensive rebound, and you had 4 black jerseys standing flat-footed all around him, just watching it happen. That is infuriating to me, because it seems like there's no sense of urgency. And now there has to be. You're down 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And this isn't the first time you've been here in the last however many years with this core. I hope whatever the hell happened in that locker room where Marcus Smart was screaming his head off and had to leave and things were being thrown and they had to have a players meeting afterward, I hope whatever happened there translates to the court and they get their shit together, because like I tweeted out the other day, it's this old saying that if you grew up playing sports, you know, because it was drilled into your head, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that is exactly what we're seeing in this series. The Celtics, I think, and I feel like this is the general consensus, are the more talented team. They may not have a deeper bench, but they are all around more talented as a team, especially when you put that starting 5 on the court compared to the Heat starting 5. I think they have a better coach. I've never really liked Eric Spoelstra. I know he's good at what he does, but I think Brad Stevens is better. It just seems to me like the Heat want it more, and that can't be the case. Gordon Hayward might be back, though. And this is probably going to be posted after Game 3, because this always happens. All day on Friday, he kept on getting elevated and elevated and elevated on the injury report. He went from out to doubtful to now questionable. And according to Woj, in this players meeting Brad Stevens had with Kemba and Jason and Jalen and Marcus, they were trying to figure out a way to integrate Gordon Hayward into this game plan for Game 3. Because he's obviously not going to be full minutes. At least I hope not. There needs to be a way that he can get in there, because I feel like he is going to not be the series changer, but I think he's going to give the Celtics a little bit of a boost in this series. I still stand firm on my Celtics in 6 prediction. like I said, I don't think the Heat are the better team. I think right now that they want it more, but I think it took this epic meltdown in the locker room after blowing another double-digit lead to get their shit together. So we'll see. I hopefully can look back on this and say, wow, Brianna, you were right. Look at you. And not like, holy shit, dude, what are you talking about? Like, stop. Leave basketball to other people. We'll see. I don't know. I still believe in these Celtics. I think they can go toe-to-toe with whoever comes out of the West, and it's more likely than not going to be the Lakers. All right, moving on. The New England Patriots are in Seattle for Sunday Night Football in what is... I'm excited. I can't remember the last time I've actually been this excited for a game and not anxiously excited. Anxiously excited would have been the Chiefs game last December. I was pumped. I was so excited. I actually ended up last minute going to the game and I was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. But in the back of my mind, I was like, holy fuck, this is kind of scary. They might lose this game. We all know what happened. N'Keal Harry was in bounds. He scored a touchdown. The Patriots should have won. And whatever fumble bullshit got called back because poor little Travis Kelce can't fumble. It'll hurt his stats. Oh no. Whatever. Patriots Seahawks, Sunday night. I am so excited. I feel like this is gonna be a good game to kind of see where this defense is at. I'm not 100% sure if this is, I don't know. I've thought about this because I've wanted to not sit here and ramble like I'm doing right now, but I'm doing it anyway. I feel like this is a more prove-it game to this defense. How are you going to respond against a pretty efficient offense? I mean, Russell Wilson threw 4 touchdowns in week 1 and 4 incompletions. So, the secondary, we all know the secondary is incredible. I mean, Stephon Gilmore didn't win Defensive Player of the Year for nothing. The linebackers, they're thin because of the opt-outs and losing people in free agency, but I still think they're going to be fine. The defensive line against I know it's like comparing apples to oranges, Miami against Seattle, but I liked what I saw from the defense in week 1 against Miami. I thought the defensive line played well. I thought the secondary, like I said, obviously we all know that they're great. So it's going to be interesting to see, can they contain Russell Wilson? Because as we saw last year, stopping the run was not their strong suit when they played good teams. That Baltimore game is the first one that comes to mind, and Lamar Jackson just ran down their throats. No questions asked. But again, it's also a different defense. You got the same secondary for the most part, but you're missing a lot of players last year that, especially Kyle Van Noy. I think we all saw that. When Cam Newton kind of took him for a piggyback ride on one of his first down runs. I love him. I'm a big Kyle Van Noy fan. Which brings me to my next point, talking about Cam Newton. What's this offense going to do? They have an endless amount of possibilities as to what they can do. Belichick knows how Pete Carroll works. This isn't the first time Pete Carroll has had to come up with a game plan to stop Cam Newton. So I think it's going to be an interesting chess match between the two minds on both sides. I do think Cam Newton's going to be able to run, but I also am expecting the passing game to get integrated a little more. I will touch on this again later in my blocked stories list because, yeah, I'll get there. But I don't think it's going to be the same thing that we saw against Miami. I feel like they were just kind of trying things out against Miami to see what worked, and Miami wasn't able to stop the run, so obviously, if it's working, keep fucking doing it. And that's why Cam Newton scored 2 touchdowns. He ran in for 2 touchdowns, and that's why the run game was more prevalent in week 1 than it probably will be in week 2. I'm giving away all my future rants. I can't do that. But it's fun as a fan to be excited about games again instead of anxious. And I know as the season progresses and things, change, it's gonna change. I'm sure I'm gonna be anxious about some games. The schedule is not easy. I know for a fact the Chiefs game in like 2 weeks, I'm gonna be balls to the wall wanting to just rip my hair out because it's the Chiefs and But I'm excited for the 5th time. I don't necessarily think the Patriots are going to win this game. I think this is going to be a good loss for them. And there's no such thing as a good loss in my book, but I think this is going to be a good loss for them to figure out what works, what doesn't, how to fix it. I also still think it's going to be a close game. I don't think they're going to get blown out like I've seen the experts predict. I don't think it's going to be 31-14, or I don't think it's going to be like they're lucky if they even score a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be like that at all. But I'm also not in the business of making score predictions because every time I do, they're absolutely wrong. And I've gotten past it because there's no need. But I will say, if the Patriots win, look out, because it's going to be, this is, like I said, a huge test for them. And if they beat Seattle, who is a very well constructed team, talent-wise, I don't like Pete Carroll, but he's a great coach. I don't know how his jaw hasn't fallen off from chewing all the gum that he does. And they have Russell Wilson, who hasn't won an MVP, but I mean, he should have, and he should this year. If he plays like he did in week 1 for the entirety of the season, he's going to blow Patrick Mahomes out of the water in that MVP race. And you heard Belichick in his press conference ranting and raving about how underrated Russell Wilson is. It was actually kind of gross to hear because he went on for like 20 minutes about it. But you've got Cam Newton and Russell Wilson on both sides quarterbacking, and they are able to throw. They are obviously able to run. It's just going to be a fun game. And the fact that it's primetime, Sunday Night Football, we get a little bit of Carrie Underwood action before the game. It's nice fall weather outside. You can sit outside with the fire pit. That's what I'm going to do. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I'm picking the Patriots to win, but if they lose, I'm not really going to be disappointed, I don't think. That might change depending on how the game goes, but right now, that's what I'm going with. All right, moving on. Now that I'm all fired up, moving on to Who's Mad, I have a story and a half. I'm going to start with the little one first because it's the second one is just, you can't make this shit up. It's classic. First one, Who's Mad? Brandon Prust. Yeah, when's the last time you heard that name? And it was in any sort of relevancy. Yeah, I can't remember either. Probably when he speared Brad Marchand and said that was the best $5,000 he's ever spent, or some stupid shit like that. Anyway, Brandon Prust tweeted a video of Anton Hudobin getting whatever chain the Dallas Stars pass around for like their player of the game or whatever. He used that video with the caption, "Opposite of Tuukka Rask." Coming from a guy who literally has never done jack shit against the Bruins, I mean, like, it's obvious why he's so butthurt. So somebody replied, I didn't really investigate to see who this somebody was, but I think he said that he had played with him or knows him on a personal level or something like that. Came to the defense of Tuukka Rask and basically was like, dude, like, you had a family emergency. Like, are you really going to be a dickhead about this? Like, stop. And Brandon Prust, in a way only he could, made this so much worse for himself and said, yeah, he's a pussy. Don't ask for $8 million a year if you want to go home and cuddle. Again, this is a guy who's literally never done anything against the Bruins or anything in his hockey career ever. He played for like 1,000,001 different teams, didn't want anything with them, and he's been out of the league for like 3 years. So that tells you really everything you need to know about this whole situation. But for a guy who has a children's foundation, this is the kicker. A guy who has a children's foundation calls a father, not a hockey player, because this is, for the reasons Tuukka Rask left the bubble, we're not, it's not our business to know what's true and what's not, but we've been told that it was a medical emergency involving his daughter, so that's what I'm going to believe. For a guy who has a children's foundation to call a father a pussy for going home, leaving the bubble where they're just playing a game. It's grown men playing a game. When you really take a step back as humans and you look at it, and not as sports fans, because sports head me wouldn't be saying this. Human me is saying this. When you take a step back, it's grown men playing a game. And if what the reason is as to why he left the bubble is 100% true, like I said, it's not our business, but if that's 100% true, Brandon Prust just looks like a asshole. I mean, we all know he already is, but like, if I was on the board of that children's foundation, I don't think I'd be too happy that the guy whose name is on it is calling a father a pussy for going home for a medical emergency involving a child. I threw my jab in there, naturally, because I can never keep my mouth shut, but like, once a Montreal Canadian piece of crap, always a Montreal Canadian piece of crap. That was my motivation. And what I said was, just because he still has a wife to go home to, or no, that's not what I said. Oh, I said, don't be jealous he still has a wife to go home and cuddle with because yours left you. This is a safe space. You can talk about it. Just admit it. Now, I'm not a mean person, I don't think, but I can be. And I think it showed there because whatever. Brandon Prust has always, literally always been a piece of crap. I'm not sorry. And if he wants to continue to talk about my goalie like that, fine. But he also needs to look at his stats against my goalie and see a whole bunch of goose eggs. And who's mad? Story number 2. I tried to make a joke the other day involving the PlayStation 5. Or the PS5, as the kids call it. I don't give a fuck about video games. If you like them, that's great. That's your prerogative. I'm happy for you that you have something that you enjoy. I don't understand, I guess, but I guess everybody has their own thing. Like, I'm sure people don't understand why I'm into sports as much as I am, or why I like to read, or I don't know. Video games just aren't my thing. I have played Madden before, but that's it. Like, whatever. So I made a joke that said guys will spend $499 on the PS5, but buying simple cleaning supplies so their bathrooms don't look like the ones out of those Saw movies is just too much. All jokes, literally all jokes. And I think for the most part, people knew I was joking, but there were some guys that took offense and got nasty in the replies. And I guess I wasn't expecting that to happen. I guess I should have known, though, that you can't make a joke about anything in the year 2020 without somebody getting offended by it or somebody getting butthurt and getting angry and retaliating at you and whatever. Everybody's soft. Yeah, I had a bunch of guys get like upset. It was odd. I wasn't expecting it whatsoever. So I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. And I even said this, I was like, if you feel victimized by this tweet, like, it was just a joke, but maybe that's a sign you need to like clean your bathroom. I don't know. But I will say this, okay? In my defense, because this is from experience, if you have never stepped foot in a frat house bathroom where there's no toilet paper to be found anywhere, there is dirt rings that are black at this point, not even like brown dirt rings, black rings around bathtubs, toilet bowls, sinks. There's dried toothpaste splatter on the mirror that looks like it hasn't been cleaned in 30 years. The tiles are all dirty and there's like spider webs in the corner, and you're not really sure if you sit down to pee if a snake is gonna come up and like get you, or a roach is gonna crawl across your foot. If you've never been in a bathroom like that in college, consider yourself lucky. Okay, because that is the basis for this tweet, because I have experienced it. I've been inside frat house bathrooms to the point where like I refused to go alone. I would always bring at least 1 or 2 girlfriends with me to help me, because I didn't want to sit down when I had to go pee, because I don't know when the last time that shit's been cleaned. The doors usually never locked or had holes in them from punching or kicking or throwing or whatever you guys do when you get mad. I don't know. So somebody had to block the hole in the door. If you've never experienced it, that was what I was talking about. And if you got offended by it and your bathroom doesn't look like that, I hope you apologize, because I wasn't making fun of you. But if your bathroom does look like that, just fucking clean it. I mean, you can go to the dollar store and get cleaning supplies, and you can order them off of Amazon if you're too lazy to even leave the house, or you don't want to leave the house because of Corona. And then for the guys who say, oh, I've had sisters or I have a wife, okay. If they leave your bathroom dirty, say something to them. Like, my bathroom is spotless all the time. And I live with boys, so I know it's possible. Boys who also play video games, okay? So this all comes full circle. Our bathroom is always clean because we're not slobs. I don't know. I don't leave makeup around. They don't leave beard trimmings in the sink. Our toilet bowl is always clean. Like, our bathtub is always clean. I don't know. All I'm saying is clean your fucking bathroom, I guess. And if you want to spend $500, $400, $500 on a gaming console, like, be my guest. Nobody's stopping you. I don't know. But, yeah, that made a couple people mad. So the couple people who got angry at that, I don't know, welcome, I guess. If you're watching this, please don't get mad at me again, because I think I kind of clarified that, like, this really was just a joke. And if you've seen the Saw movies, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about, where they're chained up in the bathroom. And, like, I can picture it in my head. So if you've seen the movies, I'm sure you can too, because it's just disgusting. I guess this is just a PSA to everybody of all genders and pronouns and choosings in life. Just clean your bathroom, I guess. I don't know. Sorry. And our last segment of the show, I forgot to do this last week because I am an idiot. Not really though. I am a lot busier in my life than I was before when I first started these shows. So I'm scatterbrained to the max. I am on the craziest time crunches ever, and it's just like, I'm forgetful. But I remembered this week. So we were doing Patriots mailbag. This is exciting because I've only done one mailbag before, because every time I ask, nobody decides to send me questions, and I'm just like talking into the void. Patriots mailbag. So I have gotten a few questions that I've kind of already touched upon in my actual Patriots segment, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to answer them now. All right, this first question comes from my dear friend Tommy Dubs, and he asked something that I kind of touched on earlier. Who will have a bigger impact when they return from IR, Damian Harris or Gunnar Olszewski? The obvious answer, if you're asking me, is Gunnar. But I think even without me being wildly biased, I still think it's Gunnar, because I think we saw against Miami, and now I know sample size is incredibly small on this. But I think what we saw against Miami is that they are still able to have a run game. I thought Sony Michel actually had a really good game. Rex Burkhead is still there. I mean, he's got his concussion issues, and you just have to hope that he's able to stay on the field. But I think I'm comfortable with keeping Sony Michel, James White, and Rex Burkhead. And if Damian Harris is able to come back and actually play, and we finally get his debut, I'm so excited for it. And I think he's going to be great. But I don't think without him, they're not going to be able to run the ball. Now with Gunnar, I think the reason why I'm not 100% saying Gunnar is going to have more of an impact than Damian, but I think I'm leaning towards that in the most subjective way possible. I just think you need all the receivers you can get right now. And based on the camp that he had, it sounds like he would be a welcome return from IR. Like, get the hell back as soon as you possibly can. And I would rather him be returning punts. I don't want Edelman back there anymore just because of his age. I know, like, he doesn't give a shit, and he's gonna go full psychopath and just, like, run into a group of people coming to kick his ass. I know that. I know how he is. I've watched him for long enough to know that that's how he plays. But at his age, I would rather him be available to catch passes than catch punts. So I would 1,000% put Gunnar back there. And we saw in week 1, it was punt return roulette to see who was able to actually catch a punt without muffing it or without, fumbling it. And it just seemed like it was Jules. And it's going to be Gunnar when he returns, and that's going to be huge. Because we know as the season progresses, Edelman gets banged up, and this has a problem, and his knee has a problem, and it's this, and it's that, and it's this, and it's that. So, Gunnar for punt returner, 1,000%. But I do think he's going to help the passing game once it finally gets going based on what the game plan is. Let's just revisit that. It's not something, neither I'm worried about, though. I'm not worried about not having them right now. It's, especially Damian Harris, it's just, if they can come back after missing these 3 games that they need to, bring them back right away. That's all. All right, so the second question is about the linebackers, which is an interesting group, but I feel like we aren't really talking about them enough to the point where we're not talking about them at all. So the question is, do I think that they are talented and deep enough, given all the opt-outs and everything like that? Obviously, you miss out on Kyle Van Noy, Landon Roberts, Jamie Collins. They all left in free agency. Dante Hightower opted out because of the birth of his child. And now they are left with John Simon, Chase Winovich, Brandon Copeland, Jawan Bentley,